I'll let you take it from there.
All right. Thank you, Brother Burnett. Thank you, young men that are here this evening on this Zoom meeting. Today, I'm going to talk to you little bit about college planning and what to do once you get to that stage there. So I actually going to talk to you about like 6 or 7 different points that you can now start to utilize now as a junior or a senior, or if you're now getting ready to progress and go into college this fall. And I'm gonna go through, there's like 8 or 9 slides. So I just go through each one of these points. And they're just very just general, just touch bases on them. And hopefully you can learn something from these here. Just a little bit about myself. Live here in Topeka, Kansas. I attended Kansas schools, went on a track scholarship to Coffeyville Community College for 2 years. Then came back home to Topeka and finished up at Washburn with the undergrad with the Human Services and Mental Health. And then got my master's about 3 years later in criminal justice. And then a few years after, I just completed my PhD in criminal justice. So a lot of the habits that I learned in high school, I had to transition and carry over while I was in high school. While I was in college. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about. So some of the things that you're developing now, you'll keep those habits and you'll polish those different things that continue to keep you moving. And you're going to find out that you're going to have some setbacks, some roadblocks, but you don't allow those things to stop your progress. So one of the first things that I'm going to talk about, Kevin, if you can go ahead and advance. Well, before you advance the slide, I have two quotes that I have here. And the second one, I apologize that you can't see it.
Oh,
The
here.
first one is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that was a quote by Benjamin Franklin. And basically what he's saying there is, if you don't take the time to plan, then you are setting yourself up to fail. So that's just a quote that I retrieved from the internet and that I heard over 20 something years ago. The second one is by Sir Winston Churchill. This is one that you can't see, but it says, those who fail to learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. So again, we have all had setbacks or went through a situation where it was a learning experience, and you should have learned from that, not to go back down that path or revisit whatever that set you back in that situation. So I just wanted to use those two things to springboard us throughout this next 10 minutes or so that I'll be covering with college planning. You can advance the next slide, Kevin. So one of the first things I want to talk about is an assessment. You taking the assessment of yourself, looking at your readiness, your preparedness. These are the things that you're going to have while you're getting ready to either look for a college, or if you have already selected a college. And again, if you're already in college, you want to continue to assess your readiness and your preparedness. And I don't say that just for, let's just say, I'm going to say FY20, but for school year 2020, but every day. Look at your readiness, your preparedness for that class that you're going into. Because sometimes we can feel that I been prepared, I didn't got ready. And then when you get there to the class that morning, you'll find out that you're not equipped with what you felt that you had or what you prepared for, because you prepared 2 weeks ago. And then you failed not to stay abrupt with keeping yourself abreast with being ready and staying prepared. So also you want to know what resources that you need to address whatever gaps there may be. Let's just say that the resources it may call for you to reach out to someone who previously took the course. And that's going to be vital for you to be able to pass this course or be able to know more about this college. So that's a need that they're asking you to address. And if you don't address that, then it becomes a gap. So again, just knowing what those resources are and addressing your needs and the gaps and continuing to make an assessment of yourself and what you're about to move towards and forward for your future or presently what you're currently in. You move to the next slide, please, Kevin. And capacity, this here basically is like, what do you have in place now to be able to move forward? or mobilize or to build and to address the goals that you have set for yourself, again, those needs. And sometimes mobilizing meaning, again, taking that step forward. And also it's mobilizing individuals other than yourself. I'll give you an example. Just staying actively. I don't know if you all have selected a college or you're still looking. My son, while he was a senior, he's now a junior at Wichita State for aerospace engineering. And his senior year, while looking for scholarships and applying, he ended up reaching out to a scholarship actually a year earlier than what he was supposed to. And it was only for freshmen that was already in school that year. So he was a senior in high school, but the scholarship was for a freshman that was already in school. But when he reached out and he contacted the donors for that scholarship, they informed him that he could not apply at this time, but they highly encouraged him, if it's something that he was interested in, he for surely was going to attend Wichita State University, to apply and look for that scholarship the following year. So moving forward, that next year he did that, and was the only person that received that scholarship, and it became a continuously scholarship for the duration of the time that he'll be there. So that's mobilizing. That's you taking action and moving yourself and position yourself in the right place, talking to people, and again, just addressing those needs for yourself, and being able to, like I said, make that forward movement and not stopping. Like I said, this is not just about you making that progress to get to college, but also while you're in college, because it's going to be what took you to get there. It's going to take the same principles to keep you there. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as I keep advancing through the slides. Kevin, you can go through the next slide, please. Now, this is an important piece here. This is planning. Start drafting and carving out steps. And this takes practice by you actually putting things on paper. And I know a lot of you are in the age of, electronics or computers or whatever it may be, whatever it is that gives you an opportunity to reflect back through reading, looking at it visually. I'm more of a paper, pencil to paper type person, or pen to paper. And another thing that I encourage you to do too, while I'm talking about pen and paper, is that whenever you attend a meeting, take the initiative, and sometimes a speaker or an instructor, they look for those individuals who come to class. And again, this is back to that preparedness and that readiness, that if you bring a pen and a paper and to set it there in front of you, they take that as this individual is coming to take notes. They're preparing themselves. They're readying themselves, and you're taking that action to begin to put that plan together for yourself. So again, planning is very important. And even after you got to the point where you're at, it doesn't stop. Like I stated, that you all are either juniors or seniors, or you're making that progress this year as your freshman year into college. It's a continuous effort of planning. And you heard what I said in the beginning: if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So, and as you go through and start setting those plans, what I like to do is I like to, do a check off. Like, for instance, let's just say that your goal, your plan is to reach out to 4 colleges, or your plan is to talk to 7 people that have already took this class that you're planning to take for college. So then you check that off. Then you create, what's the next step after that? Let me go a little step further. Instead of just reaching out to someone, let me be able to build a rapport with this individual. This person is now a junior or a senior. This is something that I encourage my son and my younger son to do, is, get acquainted with upper level a student base, individuals that are about to graduate. Like, so they didn't been through what you're trying to go through. They can give you a blueprint of their plan. Now, your plan doesn't become their plan, but you can use their plan as a blueprint to be able to see, like, the roadmap that they took to be able to help you build your plan, like either to getting into college or being able to complete college. You can go to the next slide, please, Kevin. And this is the implementation phase. And this is where I talk about you now taking that plan that you have structured and putting it in place. Now you got to make it a action plan. And this takes effort by you executing this out. Again, checking things off and like creating something new. What can I do now that I got this box checked off? And this is a very important piece is when you start implementing, then you know that, okay, I'm making some progress because now they have asked me to turn in my application by October the 1st. You got the application completed by September 15th. You submitted your application, or you have already enrolled into the course. You already started doing some preparedness and readiness to take whatever the course may be if you're in college, or you implementing that plan to speak with some other individuals who are either majors in the area what you consider that you want to go ahead and move forward with for your degree. And then the next thing is the evaluation piece of it. If you can just advance the next slide, Kevin. And this is going to take an effort, and this is like you continuing doing this, even from the beginning stage of planning. This is you taking an evaluation of every step to make for sure, is this something that I can be sustainable in? Is this something where I can improve in? Is this an area where I saw didn't work that I need to change in order for me to continue to build my capacity or be able to develop more strategies? So again, you want to constantly evaluate, and not only just your efforts towards in getting to school or staying in school. I was talking to my son today, is that, you know, as you get older, you start to evaluate your circle of friends, and you'll have associates that is still a large number of individuals, but your circle might just get a little bit smaller. And those are going to be those support individuals that's going to help encourage you to keep moving forward. If you fall down, they're going to help you get back up. They're going to provide you with all the motivation and inspiration tactics that they can to keep you going. So again, that's the continuous evaluation of the process that you're currently in and what you're presenting to go to. And while you're there, you want to continue to make that evaluation piece of being able to stay in the college and so forth. And if you can move to the next slide, please, Kevin. And then this is sustainability. And if you can see on the slide, I found a slide where there's like a piece of a plant that's growing from the concrete. I'm sure all of you have seen this sometime or another in your life. And when you see these type of things, if they're not addressed, or someone then took it and literally picked it to the point where they don't grow anymore, then you won't see it. But if it's something that you don't really bother, or you just watch it just go through the weatherization, that plant or that flower or whatever that is will continue to grow and reestablish itself in an environment that it's not really conducive to. So, and this is where you have to be able to understand, do I have the sustainability where I'm at now as a junior, as a senior, or going into college, to be able to maintain progress no matter whatever the change may be? You may be afforded 7 or 8, maybe 10 or more scholarships. And that's what's sustaining you to get you through that first year. Then you may find out the second year of those 7 to 10 scholarships, 3 or 4 have now been removed. And you have to, from the beginning, while filling out the applications for college and then getting those scholarships while you're in college, to prepare a plan to be ready to say, I have to be able to sustain my presence of achieving and getting through this next year, no matter what circumstances or changes may occur. So again, this is staying the course, finishing what you started, moving forward. So again, so just remember, this is really important to be able to have that sustainability, please, in your plan. Next slide, please, Kevin. And as I go to a conclusion here, this is, I know you all have been around or set goals and done goals and probably talked about it several different times. One thing that I have developed when I work with youth is trying to make for sure if I can find a way to give them a real visualization of how to set a goal. And I know that you all probably can, like I said, take over this section here or this slide and teach me about goal setting. But I'm just going to do a small exercise as I close. I'm not for sure where all you are from, but what I want you to do, I want you to imagine, or I want you to think of your favorite fast food restaurant. And I want you to visualize where that restaurant is, wherever, rather if you're in Dallas or if you're in San Antonio or if you're in New York. I want you to think of your favorite fast food restaurant. And I want you to imagine if I came to your place where you're living at now, rather if you drive or if you don't drive, or I would drive, you're going to get me to that location. So again, you visualizing your favorite fast food restaurant, and you're going to take me there, rather you're driving or I'm driving. So by now, you should already have that route in your head of how to get to that fast food restaurant of your favorite choice. Now, I want you to, again, just drive yourself through there, the route that you would usually take to get to that fast food restaurant of your favorite choice. Now I'm gonna put a barrier there. The way that you usually go, you can't get there. So I don't know the location or the street that you take, but I want you to put a physical barrier there, or I want you to see the sign where the construction says that you cannot pass this point, or this road is closed. By just a show of shaking of heads or whatever it may be, do you have another route to go to get to that favorite restaurant? All right, and I'm sure most of you probably automatically say, oh, if that road is closed, I'll take this road. So, and if I was to say, okay, well, I'm gonna close another road, so what other route would you take? So I'm sure most of you will be able to say, oh, if I can't go that route either, I can still take this route. Now, before I finish this little exercise, if you haven't ate yet, or even if you have eaten, and if you're thinking about your favorite restaurant, you probably already start thinking about the food that you get from there. I guarantee you can visualize it. I guarantee you can smell it. I guarantee you can taste it. You can just feel how it feels in your hand. That's what goal setting is. You want to be able to know how to arrive, even if there's a setback, even if there's a block or a road that's saying that you can't go this way, because you already then demonstrated that, hey, I know how to get there even if the road is closed. You're going to go up against that now and in your future. Be ready to put yourself in a mindset that I have different paths that I can take to get to my destination of my goal. And you have to know if it's a true goal and a real goal, because again, me giving you that fast food restaurant of your favorite choice, like I said, I already know you can probably smell or taste the food that of your choice that you would take there. You can almost feel it like in your hand. And so then the last thing I want to say is that you will arrive to that goal. So again, you get to McDonald's or you get to Burger King or you get to whatever place it is of your choice. Just use this as a way of you reaching your goal, and don't let any roadblocks or barriers set you back. Again, so the things that will get you to where you're going, remember to keep those things, and you may have to polish those things, or you may have to sharpen those things. But if it got you there, it can keep you there. So with that, I close. If anyone have any questions or comments, I'll turn it back over to Kevin and then go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Brother Bush?
One quick question.
Sure.
So as you went through the process of goal setting and going to college and starting your career, how difficult was it for you personally? Or how long did it take for you to get it?
So I started very early preparing in that readiness. And I'll give you a quick example. While I was a freshman in high school, there were some individuals, there were some pretty good athletes in my high school and throughout the city of Topeka. And a lot of the individuals went to Kansas junior colleges. And I seen these individuals, take on a scholarship, went to schools, and I would say 9 out of 10 of individuals that I looked up to and followed, they came back on that first Christmas break of that semester, and they never returned back to school. And that immediately caught my attention, like, well, what is stopping them from going back? Like, what is the problem? And from that point on, I made a commitment that once I got a scholarship, if I attended a Kansas junior school, it was my goal to get home for Christmas break and return back that second semester. So that's what prompted me. So I was able to set that goal, and then that's what got me to move through with a progress. And then I used my 2 years in the junior college almost like a football game or a basketball game. So I broke it down like in quarters. So my first year, I acted like I was coming from the 1 yard line in the end zone, and I had to get to the 50-yard line that first year. That was that Christmas break. And then I said, okay, I got 50 more yards to go to get my first touchdown. So then I went back after the first break, and then I said, okay, 50 more yards to go. That was my January through my May. So I completed that year. And then I did the same thing my second year, and that was like my second quarter, the second year, and I did it again. 50 yards. I'm starting at the 1 yard line from my end zone, moving to the 50-yard line to the next 50. So I broke it down in quarters, and that's what progressed me. I would say that I did have a setback, but not a setback that stopped my progress. My setback was I tore my hamstring. I injured my hamstring, and my college track coach came to me and said, because you're not able to run, we can take your scholarship, but taking a look at what your GPA and what your grades and your commitment to academics, we're going to allow you to be able to stay on the team. And that went a long ways to me, because a lot of times individuals, they form for you in your mind that you're only athletically inclined to be in school. So when I was not able to run track, I had to develop another way of pushing myself academically. And so I was able to go to school that year and a half, not even running track, because I tore my hamstring pretty much. It was pretty much a tear. And it was just based on that coach seeing my work ethic in the classroom. And it gave me the opportunity to continue to, set short-term goals that turned into, set long-term goals that turned into short-term goals. And like I said, I kept checking things off when I was telling you. Those are the things that I was starting to do throughout my college career. So thank you for asking.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Brother Bush. I mean, you're welcome to stay, or if you want to go, that's fine too. So I'm going to go back and share my screen, and we're going to hit on a couple of things. Here I am. And so just want to hit on a few things of what you can expect. So
I'm gonna hop off, Kevin. Just want to say thank you again for giving me an opportunity to speak. If you ever need me in the future, or if any of these young men that you have any contact with, you're welcome to give them my cell phone number, contacts, if they have any questions, if there's anything I can help them with while they're in high school or as they make a progress into college too. So again, thank you, young man, and I wish you all the best this upcoming school year.
thank you, Brother Bush. So some stats you may not be aware of, so 57% of students enrolled in college, have not completed, or they just complete after 6 years. So think about that. I mean, we normally think about, you go 4 years to college and that should be your goal, but 57% of students enrolled in college are not done after 6 years. The good news is 70% of those who are Kappa leaguers, as we track them, they get their degrees within 6 years. So you're getting the right preparation being involved in Kappa League. The average retention rates across all colleges is 81%. So if you don't, retention rate is how many students. So if I have 100 students that are going to a particular college in 2020, that's saying that of that 100, 81 of them will be back for the second year of college. So retention rate, so that's kind of the other side of that, is how many, end up don't coming back to school, dropping out, doing whatever. You know, everybody stresses over, you know, where am I going to school? What am I going to major in? You know, so one of the things is don't stress over that. Make the best decision that you can make, and then see how things go. 33% of all college students transfer at least one time during their college career. A third of the students transfer at least one time during their college career. And part of that is the most common time that people transfer is when they're going into their second year of college. And you think about it, you make a decision going into your freshman year, and, you know, for whatever, you may not like, you know, the university, it may not turn out to be what you thought it was going to be. You may have went to a school that was strong in one particular major, and then you decided, well, I really don't want to be that major. I want to do something else. Let me go somewhere that's got a better program for what I want to do. And a quarter of those students that transferred, you know, went from one state to another state. So maybe they were going to school in Texas, and then they decided they were going to transfer and go to school in Georgia. So again, the decisions you make, you want to make the best decision you can about where you're going to go to school. But you know what? It's not a prison sentence. If you're not happy there, if things aren't going well, you know, you can always transfer. And as you see, a lot of students transfer. 30% of undergraduates change their major at least one time. So again, if you decide on one major and you get into studying that and you really don't like it, you know, it's not what you thought it was gonna be, there's nothing wrong with changing your major. Almost a third of the undergraduates change their majors. About 1 in 10 or 10% change their majors more than once. And I can tell you, you know, I was one of those. I came in going into engineering, and then I was going to go, and then I changed my major. I was going to education, and I finally ended up going in business and political science. So again, you know, the decisions you make, you want to make the best decision that you can make at the time, but it's not like you're stuck with that decision. I want to share with you at the National Kappa League Conference, we had a panel discussion with some college students. And so kind of the main 4 takeaways out of that panel discussion were the following. 1, you have to be prepared. I mean, if you're going away from home, you got to be prepared to be on your own. And people said that was a big adjustment. You know, if you weren't used to that, you got to get yourself up on time. You got to find, you know, however you're going to do your meals, whether you're doing, you know, a plan in the dorm and on campus, or whether you're cooking your meals, or whether you're eating out. You know, you have to be able to handle being on your own, doing your own laundry, you know, managing your own time, which leads us to the second is time management. They said was critical because again, there is no set time for you to go to school or go to class. And everybody has different schedules and different free times and different times that they need to go to class and when they don't have class. And so you can always find somebody that wants to go to the rec center and, you know, play basketball, or wants to go, you know, out and walk around at a mall. You can always, so you have to have time management. You have to have a plan. You have to develop your plan and then adjust it if it doesn't work for you. Third is birds of a feather. So does anyone know what birds of a feather mean? Has anyone heard that term?
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yep, birds of a feather flock together. And basically, that's an old saying, but it means that, you know, it's important the type of people that you surround yourself and hang out with. And, you know, if you're hanging out with folks that are about school and are going to study and taking care of their grades, more likely you're going to be that way. if the people you hang out with, all they want to do is go party and aren't really into going to class, that's going to be the tendency of what you do as well. So be careful who your friends are, who you surround yourself with. And the fourth thing they said is you have to have a strong mindset. You have to be focused on school, because there's a whole lot of distractions that are available to you, because again, you won't have parents telling you to go to class or to study. So you have to have a strong mindset and a strong focus on what you're there to achieve and get done. So, with that, I guess I want to see, I'll stop sharing. I want to see, do we have any questions about anything we went over today? Okay. Well, again, we've got fewer people. We're going to have probably a shorter session today. Then I want to go back and share my screen. And so your homework, I will put up your homework. I won't go through your homework, but I will give you a status. We have had 12 total assignments. I've got Austin and Joshua completed 11. Jameer and Noah have completed 9. Peyton's completed 8. Everybody else has completed less than that. So again, if you missed an assignment, go back and redo your assignment. Go back and redo your assignment so you can catch up. And again, getting ready to close, we're going to make this a short one tonight, is our next meeting, which is going to be our last one, is going to be on August 5th. So your assignment for that, and I'll post it, is to post your journal. So if you've got a paper copy of your journal, then you can take a picture of it and post it. If it's electronic, I want you to post it. That is your last assignment that you'll have. And so last thing kind of before I close is I want you guys to tell me kind of what is your method or process for taking notes for classes? Anyone? Austin, how do you take notes? Austin.
You asked my method for taking notes.
What? Say that again.
So you asked for my method for taking notes, like in general?
Yeah, in class. Yeah, when you're in class, what is your method for taking notes?
I usually do the Cornell Notes platform. So whenever there's a certain subject that we're sticking with, I would go with bullet points each slide, and then we're moving on. I would create borders, I guess, for each topic, and then do the same thing, repeat.
Okay. All right, good. Noah, what do you use?
I don't really take notes. I have trouble keeping up, I guess. If anything, I would record what they're saying and then play it back and try to understand what they're saying more.
You record it with your phone or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Zaire?
For me, what I usually do, in class, I'll try to keep up with what the teacher's saying, and then if I'm just gonna use English as an example. Let's say it's just a normal day in class, I'll try to keep up with as many notes as I can. But then if I know it's in instructions for an essay or some other type of assessment, if I didn't get if I didn't get everything, I'll go back after class during office hours, and then I'll ask the questions that I need to.
Okay. All right. Jameer?
What I do to take notes is that I usually use a pen or pencil and a notebook. And what I do for my teachers is that I don't really write down everything, but what I feel like what I need is important. So what's ever important, whatever they say or they put on the board, that I feel like is important, I write that down, and I usually study that throughout the year or when we have an important test or quiz.
Okay. All right. So let me kind of, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what college experience is like. So what you can expect is that you will have a lot of assignments, but you won't have a whole lot of stuff to turn in. So if you're in something that is more of a lecture, let's say you're taking a psychology class or you're taking a sociology class. So you're going to have someone, professor, that will come in and lecture to you. All right. They will also give you reading material to do. So, example, you know, one of my young men that went off to college here last year, you know, he told me, so he took a psychology class, you know, basic class. And so he said they had the assignments. He said they only had, for the whole semester, he said they had 2 things they had to turn in. They took a midterm and they took a final. So that professor, he lectured and he gave them reading. And so he might give them reading, he might give them 5 or 6 chapters every week to read. And he didn't check to see whether they read it or not. But when it came time for that midterm, so if you think midterm is, you know, roughly, let's just say it's like your quarter, you know, so say it's 9 weeks. And if he's giving them 6 chapters to read every week and he's lecturing on it, so that's 54 chapters. And so if you don't stay up with that, you can't come back and say, oh, my midterm's coming up here in a week. I got to read 54 chapters. It ain't possible. The same thing. So you had midterm, you did the same thing after the midterm, they had a final. So again, you can't, if you don't stay up with your reading every week, then, you know, you're not going to be prepared. And typically, like in that class, you only had 2 things they graded you on, your midterm and your final. Change that around to a different type of class, a statistics class. All right, so statistics, again, they had things they covered every week. And they had statistical problems and formulas they had to know every week, and the professor covered that. They never had any things they had to turn in. They had things that they were told to do, and you know the professor would go over them in class, but they never turned anything in. They had 3 quizzes and a final, and that's all they had to grade you on. So it's important that you stay up with. It's important that you take notes. It's important that when you have classes that are a lot of reading, that you not only take notes from what the professor has said, but you take notes and, you know, highlight, outline, underline your books, because you buy those books in college. Now, you don't have to keep them, but they're yours. You know, most people sell them back at the end of the semester when they go on to another class. Those are your books to do with what you need. So one thing I want to show you, can everybody see this? Can everybody see this book?
Yes, sir.
All right. So one thing I got that I learned was that, and this is not my college book, but it was a work book for my career. But everybody sees this here, all this white space.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you see this white space here. One of the things I was taught in college was the really important things in a class. Not only do you take notes and write them down, you write them in here. All right. Not just the most important things. So what happened was when it came time for midterms, when it came time for finals, I could open this up and I knew these were the most important things. And I can go back and study them. most importantly, because I like statistics, I took a lot of statistics class. So typically one class builds on another. So I keep my statistics book, and if I had a question in statistics 2 that maybe we covered in statistics 1 that I didn't quite remember, I opened this back up and found that spot. So that's something that you can do. But with that, again, I want to thank you. You guys have a good and safe week.